Hi guys, it's Dr. Salcedo, your conscious gynecologist, and I'm so glad you're here. I had to put a video out about these new US dietary guidelines from 2025 to 2030 that basically flips the food pyramid upside down. At the top of the food pyramid is actually red meat, cheese, and animal proteins alongside leafy vegetables. I mean, it's amazing. And as you go lower on the food pyramid, there's more of the starches like vegetable or like fruits. And at the very bottom are grains, which is fantastic because we know that starches and grains are really what cause a lot of that high insulin level, because starches and grains are really just sugar molecules holding hands. And unfortunately, for some people, those things cause high glucose and high insulin, leading to that inflammatory response. So it's really refreshing to know that Secretary Kennedy is on board with eating really real food. And that's what it comes down to. So when I look at women who have problems with abnormal uterine bleeding, endometriosis, pelvic pain, uterine fibroids, many of these women are heavy in starches and heavy in fruit and heavy in pasta, beans, rice, potatoes, bread. All of those things cause this incredible inflammatory response that leads to blood vessel inflammation. Now we know that what the recommendations are is to really reduce all of those things, keep them, using them sparingly, and to be heavy on the proteins and the animal fats, because remember, your body only makes 30% of the cholesterol it needs, okay? And cholesterol is the building block for all your female hormones. So if you don't eat cholesterol, if you don't eat fat, your body is going to be in crisis. Your liver only processes 30% of the cholesterol. So where else would it come from? Yes, you can eat avocados for like my vegetarian and vegan folks. Yes, you can have some dairy, full fat dairy, which is another thing that the guidelines say that you should really be leaning towards full fat dairy. However, some people with endometriosis, the dairy, especially the liquid dairy, causes a lot of intestinal inflammation. And so block cheese is a little bit better for this, but a lot of the liquid dairy just causes this intestinal inflammation that leads to endometriosis pain and symptoms. And really, the animal proteins, and by secondary nature, the fat, is really what our body needs to produce excellent hormone quality and quantity in order to have normal feminine processing. So this is really exciting because even though, which unfortunately, being part of the Coalition for Metabolic Health, which helped give advice about these guidelines, and I was part of that coalition, even though the guidelines said we should still limit our saturated fat intake to approximately 10%, it did say that better, higher quality research is recommended to be done to really show that animal and saturated fats that come from animal proteins is helpful in the long run. And so I wouldn't recommend getting, fats from, trans fats or shortening or vegetable oils and stuff, because that's not natural and healthy. You want to get fats from natural sources. And so even though the 10% guideline did say, we should probably try to limit it, it is implicit that if you have animal proteins, you are going to be eating the saturated fat that's so healthy for your hormones, okay? And so I know fat has gotten such a bad rap, but really we do need some of that in order to have healthy processing. And of course, the animal protein is the basis for so much of our own amino acid processing that our body needs for muscle building and to create satiety. And so this is just such great news all around, because we think of macronutrients, and the macronutrients are fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Really what this document is showing is that eating real foods that are preferential to fat and protein as shown in that flipped upside down pyramid, which is just so great, is really going to bring us to metabolic regulation and improved metabolic health. So check out the guidelines. I did help with bringing out advice to help carry out these guidelines, which is such a huge honor with the Coalition for Metabolic Health. We are a group of scientific collaborators that are helping bringing an improvement and a movement towards bringing America to a place and really the world to an improvement of health, to our optimal living. And I'm just so excited to share this with you. Have a great day.